Thank you for that great introduction. Thank you. It's such a privilege to be here in your beautiful offices. Gorgeous. Thank you.
Absolutely. They're your beautiful offices, right?
Oh,
This
well,
is
true.
your
And
home. Welcome. Welcome
thank
home.
you. Thank you so much.
So I love the idea of these books. What inspired you to write them? And more importantly, right, your latest book is about the Dallas Cowboys. So as an Eagles fan, right, how tough was it to write this latest edition of Freddie and Fumble?
So, first of all, I'm a football fan. Obviously, I grew up in Philadelphia, and because my grandfather did own the Philadelphia Eagles, and my mom, an amazing lady, is the first and only female to ever be a general manager, legal counsel, and vice president of a professional football team.
Love it.
So, football is a family business, kind of like what we're doing here today. We're speaking sports, we're getting the ball rolling, we're getting great women involved in tailgate recipes and being ESPN reporters and everything else. I had this incredible privilege as a young girl to travel with my mom and grandfather to all these great cities. So I really truly got to see amazing historical sites and learn the culture of every different town that we went to. And it inspired me as I got older. People said, you should write a book about growing up and being in the NFL. And I thought, well, it was pretty kind of normal in many ways, but what wasn't normal was the fact that I got to make friends and meet fans all over. And so that was really the genesis of Football Freddie and Fumble the Dog Game Day. And certainly being a football fan, yes, obviously, spending many times shedding a few tears because the Cowboys would play the Eagles twice a year, and the Eagles would have it won locked up until the last 2 minutes. And then Tom Landry and Roger Staubach and Tony Dorsett said, I don't think so. No, we're gonna close this one out, and I would be crying. But those are great lessons to learn. And like Roger Staubach says, there are no traffic jams along the extra mile. And so I learned so much from football, watching it and being around people and just enjoying the game of football. So I'm happy and grateful that I can share some of my love and knowledge of that.
Wow, Marnie. And you've written these books, right, with your mom, Susan T. Spencer, is that right? And
That is correct.
and I mean, you just described she's a trailblazer in the world of NFL and football. Can you tell us a little bit about how she's an MVP for women in the sports world? Like, how would you share that? We heard Caroline's story, and I'm sure someone like your mom could be an inspiration, or may be an inspiration for her and other young women. So, what are your
Thank
thoughts?
you. Thank you. That question is a really remarkable and beautiful question. And actually just gave me goosebumps. Yeah, my mom has definitely been an amazing trailblazer for women. The organization that she worked in, she's always done things she started off as a teacher. And I love teachers, and teachers are amazing. And that was really where I got my love of reading and writing from my mom being on these long airplane rides across the country, and reading and writing were a huge part of it. And then my mom said, well, I want to go to law school. So then she went to law school as an older person. I mean, in her late 30s with a 11-year-old daughter, she went to law school and, kind of broke the mold there, and then ended up working for my grandfather, not necessarily because she was his daughter, although that probably helped, but because she truly was the most qualified for that job as an attorney with a lot of, history background and everything else, and community and philanthropy. So I think that my mom has always been somebody to advocate for women to truly do whatever they can to get their start and to help them along the way, be a great mentor. We have a family expression that says cheering for others makes you a leader, a cheerleader. So, I mean, I love the cheerleaders here in Dallas because they certainly are the world-class cheerleaders. But when you cheer for others, and especially as a woman, it's especially important as a female for us to really embrace and, reward other women for doing their job, not try to downgrade them, but to really upgrade them. My mom has certainly done that. And I'm so thankful. She's my mentor, my best friend, and definitely my biggest cheerleader.
That is
I love that.
awesome.
I mean, to think, and that's what Tri Delta is about, right? That's what sororities we're supposed to do for one another, is lift each other up. And in this time, it's been a little bit challenging. But to hear about an amazing woman like your mom, who obviously has done a great job with you, I mean, what a special gift. And we know today, we have a lot of Tri-Deltas who are teachers. It's a tough job today. So we love that your mom, brought that to this space, to the space of teaching you. What a great example. And we're fortunate you're one of, you're part of the Tri-Delta family. You're one of the Tri-Deltas. So
Thank you. Well, I'm so privileged to be part, certainly I had an amazing experience at Penn State, and my sorority sisters, I'm an only child. I have a great half brother, but we have different mothers, but I'm an only child to my mom, and she certainly is an incredible advocate for me. But I will say this, that my Penn State sorority sisters are still my family, still my best friends. Not a day goes by where I don't get 5 to 10 text messages from one of my sorority sisters saying, what's going on? We're so excited. And in fact, in my Game Day in Pittsburgh book, my roommate, best friend from Penn State and sorority sister, Stacy, her son, Hugh, is featured in Game Day in Pittsburgh. Hugh is autistic, and it was a really great way for us to highlight the fact that simply because Hugh is autistic doesn't mean he can't do all the things that other kids do. So Freddie and Hugh is Freddie's tour guide throughout the city of Pittsburgh. And there's nobody better to show Freddie around Pittsburgh than Hugh, who's Stacy's son. And it was really great to work with her and to also get a chance to understand that Hugh is really such a fan of his hometown.
So, and I love the fact that you're, incorporating sisters, as well as the culture of cities, but it's all, there's a lot of messages in these books, right? And that's what I think is so amazing, right? Messages around confidence and friendship and camaraderie. And then, with your example with Hugh, inclusion, right? So why were all these lessons so important to integrate into your book series?
Well, my grandfather had a saying, and he would always say, civility is not a sign of weakness. And I think that from a very young age, I learned that, and I watched his behavior, and I watched professional athletes behave nicely towards one another. Not, yes, when you go out and you're competing, there's certainly, you want to bring your highest level of competition, but definitely when it comes down to it, being civil and being kind to other people is really, truly a beautiful thing. And I try to embrace that as best I possibly can. And then definitely going to college and making friends with a lot of the girls that were in my sorority, and then girls outside of my sorority. Those were things that I learned, really great lessons that I learned. One of the things that I learned, I knew it as a young age, but writing thank you notes and being appreciative and being respectful, definitely tried out, there was a great way of communicating with one another, learning great lessons. And those are things that I've passed on to my children. And I wanted to incorporate them in the book. Manners do matter. And I think people notice it. It's something that might be those like little intangibles, not showing up empty handed, writing a thank you note. So in all my books, Freddie always writes a thank you note, and she's usually greeted by one of her friends who brings a hostess gift or vice versa. And it's about being polite and just doing these little tiny things that I think ultimately make you more memorable when you do those things, and people can't put their finger on it, but they're like, oh, that was a neat experience because of XYZ. And so it was something fun for me and important for me to include them in all my books.
Karen, I think that might be a series on leader.org.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? In the chat, Ginger Smith's already picked up on civility is not a sign of weakness. Those are words to live by right now.
Yes.
Right. In the current climate. So, so many good lessons woven in. As we continue asking questions, I want to get the audience involved, right? So drop a question in the chat if you've got a question for Marnie. We have just learned that Marnie has generously offered to donate a whole set, her whole series, to the kids at Tri-Delta Place at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis. So Marnie, thanks a bunch for that. The children and families at St. Jude are going to love that so much. You probably already know Tri-Delta Place is one of the first spots that a family may land when they get a cancer diagnosis for their child. And we strive at Tri-Delta to make Tri-Delta Place the most welcoming and comfortable and home-like setting that it can be. For Freddie and Fumble to be there to welcome these kids and their families as well. That's incredible. So thank you so much for
Oh,
doing
that's
that.
I will
it's
tell
such a reading, reading and reading with your family or having somebody read to you is such a comforting thing. I always say that reading is really one of the best coping skills that we can have. And that was another thing that a lot of times that kids don't understand how to deal with some of their frustration or anything. So picking up a book and reading it. And
Yeah.
I've been told that my books are books for all ages. Yeah, maybe kids might appreciate them in a different way, but there's certainly something fun about reading and saying, oh, I've been there, I want to go there. And a lot of times in families, there might be a Dallas fan and a Philadelphia fan. So you can read both books and learn about the cities, or a Pittsburgh fan. And it was really important for me also because I do love my Tri-Delt sorority and I do love my Tri-Delt sisters, so that I made sure that when the illustrator was drawing our first time when we make it to AT&T Stadium, that one of our fans here is wearing her beautiful Tri-Delt t-shirt. So I don't know if you can see that, but
Yes.
yeah,
that.
we spent a lot of time making sure that we had the colors and everything right, so that you would notice the fan wearing her Tri-Delt outfit. Yes,
Well,
like I am today, by the way.
I was going to say, you are repping the brand today. Well done. Well done.
I was gonna say my niece was one of the first when Tri-Delta named Tri-Delta Place, when St. Jude named Tri-Delta Place, my niece had leukemia. And my family stayed in Tri-Delta Place. And I can tell you, the families that are there will appreciate your books as a break from the stress that they have, and will certainly appreciate it. Now, I won't be surprised if a few of them end up over in the Ronald McDonald House, because
I was going to say, right, let's bring this full circle, right? Because one of the other housing facilities on that campus at St. Jude for longer term stays is the Ronald McDonald House. And your grandfather, right, was the founder of Ronald McDonald House. That's incredible.
Yes. Thank you. It's something, St. Jude's does amazing things. It really, truly, it's an unbelievable organization. So I'm so excited. For me, it's exciting to have my books there for those kids and those families to get them. Like, that's a gift for me. I think more so than maybe they even understand. But then also, yes, the Ronald McDonald House is something incredibly important to me. In 1974, and so they just celebrated 2 days ago their 46th anniversary of the Ronald McDonald House. My grandfather owned the Philadelphia Eagles, a football player on his team. His daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. Long story short, they, developed a relationship with McDonald's Corporation.
Yeah.
And McDonald's said, we love this, let's do this. So they bought a house right near Children's Hospital. And since then, over 300 houses internationally. So in 46 years, there's just been tremendous growth. And it's something I'm super proud of. And I'm on the board of a couple different houses. And I would be thrilled also to donate some books to the Memphis house. I think I might have already done so, but if not, we'll make sure it's officially happening.
That's awesome. Just awesome.
They're there for 9 months too with Emily. And, it's just watching those families, that some of them, the Ronald McDonald House is the only home they have, because they've had to give up everything to take care of their children. That's the most important thing they do. So thank you to you and your grandfather. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention the Alpha Delta Pies, who also raised money for the Ronald McDonald
House.
NBC
Yep.
sorority partners, friends, and Hellenic sisters. So, but Marnie, what you're sharing with us is really, some people would be like, this is an alumni conversation, and it absolutely is, because the longest time that someone's a sorority woman in a Tri-Delta is the rest of our lives, right? A lifetime commitment. So in your playbook, how can some of the lessons that you teach in your books be transferred into our adult life?
Well, first of all, I love that you speak sports. I think sports is a universal language. And so, and this is something also that is in my playbook. I always say, if you can speak a little bit of sports, which translates into my book. So certainly having women and young boys and everybody else read together and understand that sports really is the universal language. So some of the lessons that I like to share that are definitely some of these great coaches, whether it's Coach Lombardi, Coach Dick Vermeil, who coached the Philadelphia Eagles and then went on to St. Louis and won the Super Bowl there. He would always say, to do big things, you have to do big things. And so I love that. I kind of I'm so fortunate that I've had the opportunity to be around incredible leaders that certainly have encouraged me and coached me in many ways to do big things, because if you want to do big things, you have to do big things. And right now we're in an unusual time frame of pivoting and learning how to make adjustments quickly and rewriting our playbook for life and seeing what really fits and what doesn't and prioritizing. So I think that reading and playing, or like I said earlier, are great coping skills. So I really encourage families to read together, to play together. There's something about playing together, going out, throwing a football, playing catch. When you play catch, we know that just the eye contact of throwing a ball and then catching the ball really does encourage communication and conversation. So, I mean, I've seen world-class athletes get thrown a ball that, most people would say, oh, that's easy, and drop the ball. And then it puts everybody on the same playing field. And I think once we start with that, then we can all kind of agree that we're going to maybe play nicer together. And again, civility is not a sign of weakness. So, go read copies of Football, Freddie and Fumble the Dog. Learn a little bit about the history of your friend's town, where your dad grew up, maybe where your uncle is, and then share that. Because no matter what, information is currency. And when you get the information of other places and other historical sites and things like that, you'll be more interesting. And then when you're interesting, you're certainly more relatable to a lot more people.
I think you should just write a book, to be honest with you. I don't want to go back.
I think you're hired as my advocate and cheerleader. Forget it. If you just want to send me messages every day like that, I'll do it for sure. Done.
I think we're gonna be friends, Marnie. I definitely
I hope so.
because there's only gonna be 3, So I mean, Karen.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I just feel so lucky to have had you here today. I mean, really here today too. I mean, I got to meet her in person. What a win, right? A Tri-Delta win for the day. So no matter who wins and loses on the football field today, I think Tri-Delta has won, being together and celebrating our incredible members and this lifelong membership that we enjoy in a premier women's organization, right? And the lessons that we are learning. So many words you shared with us, Marnie, to truly live by. Be sure to check out Marnie's books online. Footballfreddie.com is where you can find her and them. Not only has she capped off a great day of football themed events, but we also, we saw 3 amazing alumni, all of whom have really challenged the status quo, defied the odds. They're making incredible differences in their fields. So bravo to these amazing sisters. Thank you, Marnie. Thank you so much. Marianne?
Karen, today has been, this has been like the highlight of my week. And I mean that sincerely. Just really getting to see the talent and how Tri-Deltas are stepping into the world, to me, is just an interesting, experience for all of us. And I know that you and I are on different sides of the field, on the sidelines, but we always come together and, support one another. And I think that that's the beauty of sorority as a women's organization, to really help each other. And I'll tell you, Marnie, I am going to go back and watch this very quickly. I'm working with a Untitled Chapter this week, and I'm like, they need all of those messages that you shared today. So,
oh, well, thank you. It's really emotional for me. Like, you can't really see it, but I have tears in my eyes thinking about the camaraderie and the support and just the beauty of what you all are doing. Now I live in the South, what y'all are doing to really uplift women. And that's so important, because so many times we don't get the encouragement, and you just encouraging me to go and maybe do something else a little bit different than what I've done, just highlighting football cities and so forth. I'm so appreciative of that. You have no idea. And so thank you for me. Again, it's a gift for me. Every time that I get to do something, I end up definitely feeling like I just won the national championship. So thank you.
Well, and I know how that feels to win a national championship.
I know.
Marnie,
Well,
so
Penn State, we did it once. I think a long time ago. Yeah. So you can really tell me. I can channel all that energy of winning a national championship from you.
Just love it.
Well,
So
and what's interesting is, my doctorate is from LSU, and so I didn't go as an undergraduate, and I'm not a Tri-Delta. So I think I'm a little unstable right now on my internet. But anyway, but I'm not a Tri-Delta. And so Karen wore her game day that she would wear to an SEC football game. Really, cute and very good looking, and I wore what I would wear. And so part of what I think, Tridelta talks about bring you, and I thought Karen's bringing her. Trust me, she never not brings her. And so I love that we can come together and that we can, like you said, talk sports. I mean, some people will be very surprised that women can talk sports like this. Even our Kelsey had a big, I mean, not Kelsey, Katie had a big announcement this week, and she used a sports analogy for that announcement for having a little one. And so, but it was basketball, I think, right? Basketball.
Yes, it was basketball.
So congratulations for that. But I think that women, and we know that, I mean, we're buying more apparel and paraphernalia, and we're becoming the ones that people are marketing to. So very excited about today and bringing Tridelta into this space. So Karen.
And interesting about that, because usually the moms are the ones deciding, or the female caregivers are the ones deciding what sports their children are going to play.
Absolutely.
And that's really how it is. Like, if you don't like baseball, your kid's not going to go out there and play Little League. There's no way. But so definitely the teams and the communities are really finding ways to embrace what we're interested in and make it interesting for us. And so that's really, for me, that's why I love writing about football, and we're working on baseball, billing and bunt, and soccer, Sammy and score, and basketball, Bobby and buzzer. Same idea as football, Freddie, but also just finding, using the other sports as a way to really communicate and bring everybody together. Because again, sports really is the universal language, I believe.
It absolutely is. Several people on this call know that I have made some incredible Tridelta connections watching my kids play sports, right? So it's the woman that is involved in the game, and she's cheering her kid on, and you're drawn to this woman, and you sit on the sidelines and you watch a lacrosse season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and all of a sudden you realize, you're having a conversation. Tridelta doesn't always come out of your mouth first, right? In everyday life. I have made some of the most amazing friends. I'm like, well, of course you're a Tridelta, because we've been watching this game, cheering our kids on, right, with the same level of intensity and excitement. Of course you were a Tridelta from Spring Hill College. Stacy Montague, she's not on the call, right? I mean, just met so many people through the years in that way, where sports, again, as a congregator, right, allowed us to be together, to be women interested in sports, all the lessons our kids take from sports, right, to be able to put that as part of a community of supporting a team, and making that team feel like family, and then to find out that we were, Tridelta sisters all along. So it's just the best when it all comes together, right? The absolute best.
It really is. And it's about, really truly is about bringing everybody together and finding a way to speak the same language, which sports definitely does. Now, you might not know about a lot about that particular sport, but you might like one particular player, or you might like their coach, or you might even be from that city. So you suddenly embrace it and then literally pick up the ball and run with it. And that's a fun thing to do.